always so really, really wonderful to be here with this very special community, this spiritual community, where I kind of, you know, I got my, what's the word, Pastor? What do you, chops. I got my chops here, yeah. You know, when I was first ordained, the week after my ordination, I spoke here at Shepherd's Bridge. And so I have nothing but complete and total gratitude for the gift of Pastor Melody being placed into my life and into our lives. And we had a chance yesterday to spend some really great time with her, and we miss her. So it's really great to be here. You know, every week when week or month or whenever it is that I'm asked to do a message, it's really like, okay, so what do you want me to talk about? What should I be talking about? You know, and again, I'm always reminded, and Chris is great at reminding me if I forget, that, you know, to talk about that which you're going through, whatever it is that you're going through, or the lessons that you're learning, and share those with others, because they can inspire, and maybe people can relate. So, you know, we went to Denmark. I don't know if anybody knows that, but we were away. We were away in Denmark and Germany for 8 days. And here I have in my notes to speak on. I have here the story about the United Airlines agent. So I'm gonna tell you about how our trip began, and you'll understand about the theme, which is present moment awareness, the magic of it, the gift of it. So for those of you who know me by now, I mean, it's been a year. It's been over a year that you know me. You know that I have a little anxiety. You know, I suffer with that. It's okay. You know? So I have it. It's a neurosis. I suffer with that, and I suffer also with some depression. You know, I've shared that here, and PTSD, and other things. You know, so it's the human side of me, the practical reality side of me, struggles with stuff. So one of the anxieties that I have is travel anxiety. I do a lot of it. So you would think that by now I would just kind of be used to it, but this was a big trip. This was a trip to Europe. This was an 8-hour flight, and there were a lot of connections. So I'm in my, you know, I'm constantly kind of like talking to myself and really trying to be present with what's the divine message, what's the inner guidance, because I got two different things going on. I got a committee in my head that's like the anxiety, the depression, the worry, the doubt committee. And then I have the divine guidance voice. When I allow the divine guidance voice to come in to straighten me out, like a GPS system, you know, then I'm okay. But I gotta be still to do that. Jesus said, be still, and know that I am God. So as I'm ready to check in, and I can't even tell you, I'm bursting inside with anxiety, all right? I'm so out of my skin about it that I don't even know what my eyes look like, but my eyes must be popping out of my head. So I get up to the counter, and, you know, and I know that God has got my back. I know that everything is going to be okay. I know that, no matter what. I know that. Intellectually, I know that, you know? But, you know, I need constant reminders about remaining in the present moment. I need reminders of that. So I come up to the United Airlines counter, and I'm handing in my boarding pass and my passport, and Chris is with me, and she's handing in hers, and the United Airlines agent says, hey, you know who this is? And she said, you know, says to the other agent who's actually taking the boarding pass and the passport, hey, this is Reverend Grace from the bridge. I don't even know if she said that it was from the bridge, but she just said, oh, she preaches about her travel anxiety. She always talks about her travel anxieties. And then she stops and she looks at me, and if this is not like totally God talking to me, says, you know that no matter what, it's going to be okay. And that God is with you, and it's going to be all right. And I got filled with, and you know, in the Hindu tradition, we talk about darshan, which is being touched by God, and it happens every once in a while. And when it happens, for me, I get emotional. I get filled with tears, and I know that the Spirit, I've been filled with the Spirit. Hindus call it darshan. Christians call it touched by the Spirit. And I got that overwhelming feeling. So I walked away thinking, God really cares so much about me. Like, even God's busy. Think about it. God's got a lot of stuff that God's got to do, you know? But God cares so much about my little anxiety and my little neurosis in that moment to reassure me through a messenger, through an angel, that it's going to be all right. Now here's what...
An Angela named Angela. An angel named Angela.
Well, I was going to keep the anonymity, but so Chris just outed her. But anyway, okay. So yeah, so let's thank Angela for being a messenger of God for me. That was the beginning of the trip. And the trip was the best experience that we have had. The best trip I ever had. But I'm here to tell you that the trip was not wonderful because of things we did necessarily. Yes, all of the connections were perfect. Nobody got sick. Everything was great. But the difference on this trip from any other trip was that we were like little kids who were willing to accept whatever the adventure was going to be. To not have expectations. To not have preferences. To just be with what was unfolding. And so in every moment, we were appreciating, we were accepting, we were in joy. So being in that complete and total acceptance of the now moment was where the magic was. So I mean, that's just, you know, one example of one trip. But I gotta tell you that when I'm not in that moment, when I'm not living in the magic of the now moment, it doesn't matter what trip it is, it could be the trip to the bank. I could be taking a trip to the bank with money to deposit. What a blessing, right? But then there's 3 people ahead of me online, and I've blown my perspective. I'm upset that I have to wait. I'm not being in the now moment and appreciating the now. So that there's 3 people ahead of me, now is a great opportunity. Thich Nhat Hanh would talk about it. When the phone rings, instead of going, oh, it's the phone again, take that as a bell of mindfulness. So the phone rings, moment to appreciate, moment to see God in all things. And I know that we're living in stressful and fearful times. All you have to do is listen to the debates. So listen to the debates. It doesn't matter, this is not a political discussion, but it's negative. It's negative. There's some sprouts of positive, but then they get dampened by negative. Let's remind us about how bad things are. Let's remind us about our economic times. Let's remind us that we don't have a job. Let's remind us about how we can't make our mortgage. Let's remind us about foreclosure. So it's really hard in our world to stay in the moment and not only be in the now moment where the magic lies, but to see the beauty in it. We try to manipulate our world and our circumstances to conform to all of our expectations. That's why little kids don't have expectations. See, that's why little kids, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, they're so innocent. Innocence defined means purity. The Hindus talk about purity as sattva, to be sattvic in nature. Sanskrit for purity is sattvic. So when a little kid is pure and just innocent, they're overjoyed with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And some of them have expectations and preferences. They want the ends cut off. Okay. And some of our children are spoiled. But the purity of a child, and that's what Jesus was talking about when he said, be like little children. And unless you become like little children, you're not, he says, it's plain and simple, you're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, for some people that might mean salvation, going to heaven, and others it might mean the peace within. Because he also said the kingdom of heaven is within you. So you can't enter the kingdom of heaven, which is within you, the peace. You can't get the peace until you act like, what? Act like a brat? No. Act like a child? Maybe. The purity, the acceptance, the being in the now moment. See, I try to manipulate and control all my circumstances. I don't know about anybody else if you can relate to that, but I do. Because I'm a big problem solver. Give me a problem and I know already, here's the things you have to do. Here's the steps that have to be done. And if you do steps 1 through 12, boom, it's gonna be all fine. You're gonna be perfect. No, because we're always disappointed over and over again. You know why? Because life has ups and downs. Because there's good stuff, there's bad stuff, and it's all God. It's all God. I know that's hard to understand for some of us because it's like, well, only the good stuff is from God. Sometimes there's stuff that's going on. It's not our preference, but it's our lesson. And it's a way for us to spiritually evolve. There is a magic in present moment awareness, and it can literally transform us. It can transform our circumstances and transmute, which means completely and totally change the fear and doubt and stress and disappointment and loneliness that we might be feeling. It can shift all that's going on for us. We talk about the shift. Somebody was talking, I think John earlier, was talking to us about the Mayan calendar. And so there's this whole talk about 2012 and the Mayan calendar and the end, the shift. The shift is within. Okay, shift happens. Shift has to happen. If shift in yourself doesn't happen, you're never going to change your perspective. It isn't about your circumstances. Now listen, this is not to say that, I was watching TV the other day and it was something about the guy that comes knocking on your door and gives you the money and you get $1 million and you get $1,000 a week for the rest of your life. What is that? The sweet, yeah. Ed McMahon, something or other? Publishers Clearinghouse. I immediately, when I saw the commercial, I was like, oh, how cool would that be? How cool would that be to have $1 million? I'm thinking like $1,000 a week for the rest of your life? Are you serious? Really? Wow. I could do so much with that. But I got to be really careful with chasing after the if-onlys. You know, if only I had money, I'd be happy. If only I had a relationship that made me feel like, you know, safe and secure and loved. If I had somebody to cuddle up with at night. If only. If only I had a new car. If only I had a new iPod. If only I had a new flat screen TV. If only I had a better job. A better house. Be careful. I have to be careful with chasing after my circumstances. Rather, live in the moment of what is. And notice the amazing magic in it. There was a great movie called Life is Beautiful. Anybody seen it? It's an old movie. It's an old film, older film. Life is Beautiful. And it's about an Italian Jewish father and his son. And they are taken into custody by the Nazis in Italy. And they are put into a concentration camp. And it's not a happy ending. The circumstances are not what you would want them to be. But the father in the movie shows us exactly what we're talking about today. The magic of the present moment awareness. You've got to see that movie. And if you're upset about your job, if you're upset about your finances, if you're upset about you feel depressed, you feel lonely, see that movie. And look at the way in which you can shift your perspective. Because I can't think of anything worse than being in a concentration camp. Maybe there's other things that are worse, and everything is relative. If we're suffering, losing our wallet can be the end of the world. I understand that. But I'm suggesting, as the Hindus and the Buddhists and the Christians, as the Master Jesus has said, be still and know that I am God, which means, and the way I interpret it, be still and be in the now. Because this awareness of the now moment brings with it the gifts of joy and love and abundance and acceptance and surrender and peace. And yes, adventure too. And that's okay. Because when we were in Denmark, it was cold. It was cold for this, you know, I have to say, I guess I'm a Floridian. I was a New Yorker my whole life. But now my blood is thin. So we were cold. It was 40 degrees and it was raining. And you know, in the past, the grace of the past, if it was raining on my vacation, forget it. That would put me so much into a depressed, anxious, negative state. But instead, we shifted the perspective. See, I have no control over the weather. I'm powerful, but I'm not that powerful. So I have no control over my outside circumstances sometimes. So to be like a little kid excited, I've never been to Denmark. And I took a lot of pictures, and I took pictures with my BlackBerry. You know, I don't have a fancy camera. Just took pictures with the BlackBerry and tried to capture all the things that we were seeing. It was awesome. It was awesome, and we did nothing. You know what I mean? But like, we did really not a lot of big things. But it didn't matter. There was an adventure in that. And yeah, I know, I'm talking about my vacation. Poor me, right? That I get to go to Europe, right, on my vacation. But yeah, it's hard to apply these principles when things are not going really well. It's hard to apply these principles when instead of the trip to the bank, I'm making a trip to the unemployment office. Or making a trip to get food stamps. Yeah, there's no doubt about it that everything is relative. But when we're in the now moment, the Tao Te Ching talks about this. If good happens, good. If bad happens, good. What? You know, that's a hard one to grasp. Living in the moment is living in the awareness of who we really are, see? No matter what is happening, I'm not this body. I know that. And when I know that I'm not this body, how do I know I'm not this body? You're like, what is she talking about? I hate when she does this. I hate when she starts talking like this. But we're not this body, folks, because this body is going to go away. You're not going to see it. Fast forward the tape, do time-lapse photography, and I won't be here, not because I'm not coming to the bridge anymore. I won't be here because I'll be dead. That is a fact. The Buddha talked about that. In fact, that was his first awareness, was like, oh, how come that guy's getting old? Oh, how come that guy's dying? Ah, because life happens. Life happens. So all of the things that we want to hold on to and want to crave and cling to, outside things. Outside things. It's an inside job. What does that mean? It's about the soul. It's about our soul. It's about the essence and the true nature of who we really are. What is that? Sanskrit talks about it as Sat Chit Ananda. Existence, knowledge, and bliss. What does that mean? Well, when we were little, I grew up Catholic. I grew up in the Catholic Church. So, who is God? I know, God has always been, always will be, knows all powerful, omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. That's our soul. So our soul is the ray, and God is the sun. And we're the ray, the soul, the essence of who we really are. So when we're living in the soul awareness, which is the now moment, which is what Jesus is talking about when he says, be still and know that I am God, he's talking about what Rumi was talking about. When you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you. And that river is a joy. So that no matter what is going on, knowing that the soul is untouched. But look, this is not the place that our minds reside. I know that, but it's not the place my mind resides. I'm in the future. I'm planning away. I'm manipulating, I'm arranging, I'm rearranging my preferences. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, says, when we are mindful, deeply in touch with the present moment, our understanding of what is going on deepens. We begin to feel filled with acceptance, joy, peace, and love. How many things might I have missed if I was rushing through the park in Denmark to get to the restaurant where I knew that that's where I really wanted to be, or the store that I really wanted to go and shop in. If I rushed through the park, I would have missed the leaves. I would have missed the moment. I've done that before. I rush from place to place to get to the next thing. I do that all the time, preoccupied, in my head, and missing the moment. Present moment awareness is where faith lies. Because if I can be in the now moment, then I'm in the faith moment. Then I'm knowing that all will be well, no matter what, that I am safe. Maybe my physical body's not safe. Maybe I'm not. Ask any victim who's been the victim of some type of injury, did they feel safe in that moment? You know, these concepts are mind-boggling. But I'm asking us to go within in an awareness and a consciousness to raise our level of consciousness outside of our bodies and understand that our soul is perfect and untouched. That I'm secure right here and now, even if I lost my job or I can't figure out how to pay the next bill. Whether I'll survive what appears to be the most unbearable grief that I've ever experienced. Present moment awareness is a shift in our perspective. If good happens, good. If bad happens, good. And Jesus reminded us also, don't worry, don't worry. Don't worry. What good is that going to do you to worry? It's not going to change anything. And more than that, he says, because when Jesus talks about that, and he says, don't worry, first, that's one thing. That's one hint. Second hint is, and if you still want to worry, look at the birds. Look at how beautiful their clothes, the flowers. The birds don't worry about what they have to eat or anything. The birds aren't on food stamps. And the flowers, how beautiful they are. Dressed better than Solomon. So don't worry. Because God knows your mortgage payment. Now we still have to do our footwork. We have to. It's our job. It's called self-effort. But it's only 10% effort. 90% is divine grace. I do 10%. God matches it with 90%. I struggle with remembering to let go, to let God, go with the flow, live in the present. I think it's 90% my effort, 10% divine grace. And I also think that the more I worry, the more effort I'm putting in. I keep forgetting that once I put my 10% effort in, God picks up the rest. And even the absolute worst case scenario, whatever that is, a knowing that I will be okay. Because the essence of who I am, not my mind, not my personality, not my intellect, not any of that stuff, my consciousness, my higher self, my soul, is in its God state. I'm going to end the story, I'm going to end my message with a story about 10% effort and 90% divine grace. Coming home. See, so going God was like giving me a message, and coming home God was giving me a message. I mean, God was giving me messages throughout, of course, but here's the powerful. This is powerful. We're on our way home, and we're in Scandinavian air, the gate. And we're in Oslo, in Norway, and we're about to get on the plane to go 8 hours to Newark. So I want to see about a little bit of an upgrade. So you do it at the gate, sometimes it's cheaper. So you go up to the gate, and it's affordable for me. But I have to hand in my tickets. So I hand in my tickets, which is seat 40A and B, all the way in the back of the plane. I have to hand them in, and now it's a full flight. So now I lose those tickets, right? They're gone. Because they tell me, yes, there's an upgrade. And it's going to be, seats 12A and B. Here's my credit card. They're trying to swipe it. Something's wrong with the machine. They tell me, you have to wait. Go sit down. I said, well, I don't have a boarding pass. I said, it's okay. We're going to call you. All right. So I go sit down, and I'm waiting, and you know, now the sign is flashing boarding. So I get up, and I said, I know you told me to sit down, and he's, you know, kind of half English. I said, I know you told me to sit down, and I totally believe you, that it's going to be all right. But they're boarding. The plane is boarding. He says, I know, we're waiting for another machine. So here comes another machine, and the guy comes over, and it's a little tiny machine, and they're trying to, you know, do what they have to do with it, and not working. Now everybody's getting on the plane. There's a big line, and whenever there's a line, I get really upset. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I'm not well. I have to go within. I have to press pause. I have to go within. I have to know that no matter what, I'm going to be all right. I have to know that, you know what? Even if, worst case scenario, I don't have a seat. We don't have a seat, and we're going to be stranded in Oslo. Even if we're on the tarmac, freezing to death in Oslo Airport, that all is well, no matter what. I got that reminder in the beginning of the trip, no matter what, it's going to be okay. Because the essence of who I am is just, is not this body, it's this soul. It's all good. And it's also unfolding for my highest good, whatever is happening. Maybe I'm being taught patience. So when I go within, I be still. Jesus remind me, be still, know that I'm God. All right, I got it. I open my eyes, and the guy goes, you know what? We can't get it fixed. No charge. Here's your boarding pass. Present moment awareness reminds me that all is well no matter what. And going with the flow, as Rumi says, to do things from your soul, knowing that you are the soul, untouched, undying. It's then that you feel a river moving in you. And that river is joy. That river is never disappointed because there are no expectations in the present moment, only joy. Because God is in and of everything. And God is actually not inside of you or inside of me. We are inside of God. I want to share and close with this. I read this morning, and so I'm going to ask you to get prepared for the meditation, to close your eyes and listen to this message from God. You call on me, and then you hurry onward, not waiting for a response. You feel a duty to be busy always. You rush through your days, and you don't need to. So relax and take it easy. Allow me to set the pacing of your day. I can move with great velocity when it is necessary. But so much rush and hurry are not necessary. I am a master of timing. Consider the planets in their course. Consider, too, the seasons. You surely can see the wisdom in those. Your life, too, can be timed to a fruitful unfolding. Come to me and ripen with my love. Allow me to shelter you. Allow me to provide you with safety. Stay close to me and allow me to cue your actions. There is no emergency. You rush to cover your anxiety. Instead, bring your anxious heart to me. Allow me to calm your fears. Place your hasty ways in my care and allow me to create your path. There is time enough for all good things. You look to the future with fear. Allow me to deliver you. As I give you knowledge of your next step, take that step. Know that each step is calmly linked into a great unfolding plan. My plan has time enough that hurry has no place in it. Quiet your hectic heart. Allow me to speak to you gently. Listen and hear the heartbeat of your unfolding. It is as graceful and certain as the river.